We live in an age of disconnection. Disconnection from ourselves, from the community, from our environment. A world where only the ego preserves itself as a tangible truth, albeit at the cost of great difficulty for many of us. And we call it individualism, egoism. If the only existing reality for us is ourselves, then all the responsibility, all the weight of the world's misery must rest on our weak backs. It all becomes a question of personal struggle, ambition, responsibility, guilt and personal development. It's up to you to achieve. It's up to you to change. It's up to you to bear the consequences in solitude.
My final message. Goodbye.
Let me tell you, it's all a bunch of toxic bullshit that will lead you straight into the wall and the world down your path. What is being sold to you as individualism is not. The simplistic opposition you're being sold between individualism and collectivism doesn't exist. And most of all, let me tell you this, you're not alone. The first piece of advice I'm going to offer you is this: cultivate your individuality. I imagine that when you hear me say this, you're thinking that I'm attacking you personally, that you're already doing this, that you have your own goals, ambitions and tastes, and that I must be a pretentious prick to tell you that none of this makes sense. Well, I'll be happy to tell you, it doesn't make sense. For years, you've heard speeches preaching the importance of following your dreams, as long as they benefit the market, to stop caring about what others say, except when they're more powerful than you, of developing the critical mind, as long as it poses no real threat to the status quo. Faced with the impossibility of creating a true identity for yourself in the face of the great powers of this world, you decide to fall back on your brothers, sisters, friends, neighbors, colleagues and comrades. You decide that success means not being like all those people, being better than all those people, while they themselves think the same of you. Everyone locked in a rat race, thinking that finishing first is self-fulfillment.
Jack, you're simply the best, and you got there all by yourself.
My boss gives me 3,500 euros a month, while my neighbor's boss only gives him 1,200. I'm certainly ahead of him, says the lab rat, not realizing that he has just as much a boss as his colleague. We end up seeing others as competitors, putting obstacles in their way in order to become kings of this pipe dream. That's not cultivating your individuality, it's isolating yourself. Cultivating individuality means refusing to take part in this farce.
Bye! Bye bye! Bye!
Obviously, things being what they are, you need a job to live, and not necessarily the opportunity to set up your own business right now. You can't start a revolution on your own, and others will continue to see you as a potential threat. However, nothing is lost, and there are still a number of things you can do at your own level to free yourself as much as possible. I think the most important of these is to realize the futility of this competition and stop trying to win it. Rather than trying to come first, cultivate interests, skills and lifestyle habits that don't put you in competition with anyone else. Work on yourself not to be better than your neighbor, but to be better than the person you were in the past. Leave your neighbor out of it. Let him do his own thing. He has no influence on your business, and he's not your competitor, since you're the only one in your own race. Fight against your weaknesses, fight against your bad habits, progress in what really interests you, learn new things, get out of your comfort zones, and in time you'll realize that you'll no longer see others as a threat, but as a potential resource in your personal quest. And so we come to my second piece of advice. Unite by affinity. Your quest will make you realize soon enough that certain obstacles to your progress will invariably arise, and that there is a limit to what you can achieve alone. This is a good thing, because it will force you to seek out others who can help you overcome these limits. You no longer see others as an obstacle, but as a necessity for overcoming it. By forcing yourself to work towards a goal alone at first, you'll realize soon enough that nothing is ever accomplished alone. So why do it at all? Well, once again, to develop your individuality, to be unique in your own way, to avoid sinking into alienating uniformity and mediocrity, and to finally be able to provide your neighbor with what he lacks the day you need him to provide you with what you lack. If each individual has his or her own strengths and weaknesses, this means that union and cooperation between individuals can support each other in achieving a higher ideal. not having to deal with labor that isn't suited to oneself, making up for the weaknesses of others and having one's own weaknesses made up by others.
Incredible valor! Respectable muscles!
Nothing has ever been achieved by just one man, because everything is connected and bound to its ancestry, carried by support roles and so on. On the other hand, no group ever subsists without everyone adding its own personal brick to it. It then dies in red tape, bureaucracy, obtuse and alienating, without an ounce of spontaneity left inside. Oh, the foolish things that think of themselves as absolute and immutable. Thankfully, nothing ever is absolute or immutable. All is fluid, impermanent, in perpetual motion, weathered by countless cycles of evolution and revolution and births and deaths at any given moment. The rules should never be an end in and of themselves. Nothing but the common agreement in constant change between all members of the group. Personally, I like to see human relationships as contracts based on consent, broken as soon as both parties no longer have something to gain from them, whatever that something may be for each of them. To avoid imposing sterile and false bonds on each other under the weight of social pressure and values, to go their separate ways when the agreement no longer holds, and to set off in search of a new common agreement, in search of new affinities.